means another edition of Fiction Friday and another chapter in our new book, Master Frisky. Last week in Chapter 1, Frisky the collie pup found a new master. And this week, we're going to learn all about Frisky's new home and how he sees the world as a cute little puppy, just like me. If you want to follow along, the link to the ebook is in the description below. Chapter 2, Being a Puppy. I suppose a puppy must live in such a strange and wonderful world as children do. Certainly Master Frisky's world was full of wonders. Many of them he inquired into, and quite frequently to his sorrow. But I must first tell you about naming him. For a long time we could not find a name that fitted him. All of the ordinary dog names that we tried were either too large, too small, or too dignified for him. So for a long time he was Jack one day, and Ned the next, and still something else the third, until at last he got so that he would answer to almost any name. This will never do, I said. We must have a name for him at once. The next morning I was sitting in my study, not reading, but watching the pranks of my puppy who was chasing a grasshopper. "How he does frisk about," said a friend, watching the fun over my shoulder. "Why not call him Frisky?" he asked, and the name stuck. Finally, when he got older and more dignified, a master was added when he was uncommonly clever. Master Frisky's first adventure, which was not a serious one, came the morning after I arrived home with him, and from that day on I was never quite certain what he would do next. He had gone with me to the barn, and while I was watering the horses, he was lying on the floor trying to catch a sunbeam. Of a sudden I heard a few sharp barks, and then a most pitiful yelping. I rushed to the scene of the disturbance, and found poor Frisky up in one corner of the barn, and our old white gander, Ginger, before him, pounding him fiercely with his wings. I drove Ginger away, and Master Frisky ran between my legs for protection. This was one of many similar plights from which I rescued this curious pup. He would get his nose pecked for poking into the hen coop to see the chickens. The cat would scratch him when he got too free with her kittens, and often he would come scurrying into the yard with his tail between his legs and a large dog in hot pursuit. For recreation, he worried the cat, chased the kittens when the mother was not around, barked at the rooster, hunted grasshoppers, dug holes in the flower beds, and hid bones under the lounge. Things that a well-behaved dog should do were never thought of by him, but his capers and his tricks would fill a large book. One morning, about a week after my first acquaintance with Master Frisky, I heard a great commotion in the front yard, and on going to the door, I found one of my neighbors, Mrs. Maloney by name, gesturing wildly with the poker, while my small dog was standing at a respectful distance, barking. "The little heathen," said Mrs. Maloney as soon as she saw me. "He stole me beefsteak, grabbed the entire lot from the oven when my back was turned." "Where is he now?" I asked. "The little bass has hid it, and I can't find it at all. Master Frisky stood with drooping head and tail, looking every inch a culprit. "Bad dog," I said in my sternest tones. He at once lay down upon the ground, and turning upon his back, held up his front paws in such a beseeching manner that I laughed in spite of myself, at which he immediately got up and began crawling toward me in a humble and sorrowful attitude. "It ain't the first time the little scamp has been thieving. It was only yesterday that he stole a piece of mince pie out of my oven. Took it out so slick that I thought it was my boy Patsy, and a good slap I gave him. And I never would have known to this day had I not seen the crumbs on his sassy little mug, and himself a-lying behind the stove, making a belaved slate," said Mrs. Maloney. "I paid for the meat, and promised to keep a sharp eye on my naughty dog." One of Master Frisky's most harmless and amusing pranks was to tease the cat. He was never rough with her, or I would have interfered. At first, he would merely stand perfectly still in front of the cat and look at her. For 2 minutes at a time he would stand so, not moving a muscle, but just grinning. After a while, she would move to another part of the room, but Frisky would follow and take up his position as before. When this sport got tame, he would open his mouth very wide and make believe swallow the cat's head, but never did he offer to bite. Then, all of a sudden, he would rear upon his hind legs and come down astride the cat with his mouth wide open and almost shut his jaws upon her. It was lucky for him in those puppy days that the cat was long-suffering, or he would have had many a severe lesson. Well, friends, that's the end of chapter 2. What a naughty little scamp Frisky is as a puppy. A scamp is someone that is mischievous in a likable or amusing way. I know this word because my mommy calls me a scamp all the time. I get into all kinds of mischief, just like Frisky. I am curious and adventurous pup, and only just last week I had the most fun exploring outside my yard with Daddy playing chase with me the whole time. It was great. He didn't think it was so great, though, when he finally caught up to me. I think he was very scared that I was going to run off, but I would never do that. Unless I met a squirrel to go meet, or a dog to make friends with, or even just a leaf to chase. Well, would you look at that? I am a scamp. I guess I do make lots of mischief for Mommy and Daddy, but they love me to bits all the same. Stay tuned on Monday for our next Music Monday song, and be sure to come back next Friday when we read our next chapter of Master Frisky. And on Wiki Wednesday, we'll have our last entry of the Animals That Swim Better Than Pupper Pie series. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the fun. See you all then. Bye.